Hey, what's up, Asafo? You got Alien Black coming at you with another video. I'm gonna try to. This gonna be like shot, y'all. This gonna be like take number 4 of this video. I've tried to do this video with Fred, tried to do it with Nandi, and each time it just seemed like it came out too long. I did it by myself earlier, tried to do it yesterday, and it just was too long. But I guess I need to stop talking there and just get to it. One of the things, it's a lot of things I want to talk about today, but one of the things that I want to talk about is safety in the vehicle, in your vehicle. And I'm in a vehicle now. Let me stick to this, and then I'll make some other videos. I'll break those other subjects up into other videos. Now, in your vehicle, in a motor vehicle, out on the street or whatever, some of the dangers you generally, can face. One can face is, carjackings, kidnappings, and a lot of people argue now that incidents with law enforcement. So we're gonna try to touch on those real quick. As far as I'll touch on carjackings first. I'm not gonna say much on that because carjackings are a little bit more involved in our combative defense classes. We deal with that a little bit. We put a video up before dealing with that. The key thing with all violence or all self-defense precautions, measures that you want to take is being aware of your environment. If you stay aware of your environment, keep a good, not so much, I don't know if I want to say mental focus on what's going on around you. A lot of times you can avoid, running into problems. Just keeping an eye on everything, watching what people are doing around you, and not being distracted by talking on the phone. Hell, even smoking a cigarette or doing something else where you don't have full use of your mental capacity. When i.e. drinking or taking drugs. When you do those things, you open yourself up to potential ambushes and so on. So, when it comes to carjackings, some of the things you might want to do, avoid being in, high crime areas, where those things likely to take place. When you come to a stop sign or a red light at night, if you happen to be like in Georgia, and Atlanta is probably one of the largest urban forests in the country, so you have a lot of woodline that you can look around us. It's like a city in the trees, so you have a lot of points where people can hide and ambush you from. So you just want to kind of keep your eye on the sides of the road and kind of look around, and always be prepared to, if necessary, you see some people jump out the tree line and start running at your car, be prepared to take off as safely as possible. Don't pull out in traffic and get sideswiped or cause a head-on collision or nothing like that. But you just got to be ready. Like I said, carjackings are a little bit more involved, so that's all I can say on that. Is I'm going to say on that right now. Just kind of be alert, and sometimes that'll help you. As far as kidnappings, what I constitute kidnappings, I've had like different ladies who came to class, and different ladies I know who've had incident with dudes. One lady was telling me she was in the grocery store, and she kept noticing that a guy was appearing on every lane she was on. Then when she left the store, he left the store, and then she didn't think much about it till she got into a cul-de-sac, and she happened to notice a car creeping up on her, and it just so happened it was a dude. He had followed her to where she lived, and her natural instinct, she did what a real soldier would do. She faced off with him, and the dude, he looked at her and took off. He didn't, and a lot of times you got to break that predator prey mode. And that's what a lot of dudes do. A lot of rapists and kidnappers, they go into predator mode, like that cat sitting over there in the field. I don't know if y'all can see him. He over there hunting. When they're in predator mode, they expect you to run. And when you don't run and you face off with them and you counter their aggression with aggression, a lot of times you'll cause them to blink. And that worked well in her case. Not saying that would happen in every case. We had one lady, one of my lady friends, dude pull up beside her at the light, tried to, converse with her. And, she wasn't having it. So then the dude, he started following her. She jumped on the highway. And this was before she had, taken the class with us. She was just telling me about the incident. And, he followed her, and she eventually pulled into a Walmart parking lot, and, and she felt like a public place. He pulled up beside her, cursed her, and, I think she might have threw something at her car, and then he burnt out. Still, there was 2 cases where the 2 ladies were lucky. Sometimes things don't go as well. This is what I want to say when you're dealing with kidnappers. Kidnappers, still the same protocol. Stay alert, watch your environment, be prepared to act at all times. I do want to note this. This is very important, ladies. Don't think just because somebody's following you that you'll find safety in a public place. This society that we live in now is very apathetic and kind of silly. A lot of the people are very ignorant and silly. So people will see you getting kidnapped, and the best they might do for you is turn on the camera and put you on World Star Hip Hop. At least somebody will see what happened. But they'll watch you get kidnapped and won't call the police. People won't intervene in a lot of cases, especially if you're in an environment with a bunch of low information processors. They'll just watch it happen, and that'll be that. So don't think that by pulling in the parking lot or into a public place that you'll be safe from, a civilian type, a regular person who's trying to kidnap you, or maybe, for whatever nefarious purpose. Don't feel safety in it. If someone's following you, and this is kind of gonna go into the next thing. Anytime you feel threatened, whether it's from a civilian or even from law enforcement, if you get a cop who happens to be acting unprofessional and dangerous and reckless, who stops you and they're using profanity and carrying on in an unprofessional manner, or if you feel like the stop is illegitimate, if if you've been speeding and you kind of been swerving, doing something in the car you didn't have no business doing, you're drunk, you're a little tipsy or whatever, if your tail light out and you've been meaning to get it fixed, don't follow this procedure. But if let's say it's late at night and you left the house because your baby needs some milk or some medicine, and you go to the store, you come from the store, and just so happen you live in a kind of secluded area like many places in Georgia, and you get to driving and you see a police get behind you, he just following you for miles for no reason, then suddenly when you get on a dark stretch of road, they hit the lights on you, then don't stop for them. Get on the phone and call 911 like, look, I feel like, there's a cop following me. I don't know. He just turned on the light. I haven't done anything wrong. I don't feel safe. And and the dispatch can contact the officer. You let them know I am going to stop. I'm driving at a slow rate of speed till I get somewhere more public, and then I'll stop. Now I suggest you can stop in a public place when you're dealing with law enforcement. That don't mean they won't kill you, but at least somebody might see what happened. And to be honest, I'm not of that school. And I know a lot of y'all might feel that way, but I don't feel that way. I don't believe that all police out trying to kill all black people. That's not a reality. People might want to feel that way, but that's not a reality, y'all. Because way more people being sent to prison than being sent to the grave by law enforcement. And some of those people need to be there, and some of them don't. But a great majority of people who go in need to be there. And because I've seen both sides of the equation. I grew up in the streets. I've seen people do all kind of amount of heinous shit to each other. So that whole point that everybody in prison is just a political prisoner, that's far from the truth. Everybody in there, most of the people in there deserve to be in there, and some of them in there don't deserve to be in there in the capacity that they're in there. I don't believe the children should be sent to adult facilities and stuff like that. And I think some people get sentenced too harshly, but that's neither here nor there. That's not the point of this. But if you're stopped by law enforcement and acting in an unprofessional, threatening, dangerous manner, get on the phone with 911. Try to do it before they come up to you. You don't want to make sudden moves while they coming up to the car, because it could be a host of things. Now let's look at the flip side with law enforcement. I think the majority of cops out there, it depends. It depends on the area. If you find corruption on the street, there's corruption at headquarters. Everything trickles down. If there's a lot of law enforcement today is being militarized, a lot of people got federal money, and the federal money, you got and I don't mean to knock all cops, but you got a lot of cops out there who are nothing but D students, couldn't find a job nowhere else, and they just, they got their ass kicked throughout high school, and now they want to kind of pay people back. They want to, stick their chest out and feel some kind of way. You got some people who they're actually traumatized. They've been in the military, they've been overseas shooting people and letting them bleed out on the streets, and they'll come back and do it in a civilian capacity. And then you got some cops who just doing their job and actually want to do some good. You know what I mean? And they try to. It's a lot of cops who do. I met cops who try to help people. You can't just assume because somebody in law enforcement they all evil. That's just a bad way to think. And that type of thinking only gonna promote more panic, more anxiety, and more confrontations. Those are just my thoughts on that particular matter with law enforcement. You got to realize too, law enforcement have to deal with the scourges of society. They have to deal with people on drugs, people who are mentally ill. They have to deal with seeing people mangled and killed in car wrecks, or people burned up in homes. When they go there with the fire department, they have to see children that have been sexually assaulted. They see a lot of bad shit. So a lot of times, the police, emergency services, paramedics, and firemen, they have, their jobs are really tough, and they're really tough mentally. And some people break under that pressure. Some people come in and they have good intentions, and they work for a period of time in an environment where they see so much shit, they become apathetic, or they become hateful or resentful of the people that they work around. And that's easy to do when you're not used to certain things. You come to an environment where the bullshit, the bullshit you experience every day may be normal, is abnormal to them, and it'll break a lot of people. So, one of the things that can help change that is having, I think in the future, if you could have people from the communities police the communities, then I think you would have less negative interactions. But that's all, that's neither here or there either. That ain't the reality in most cases. In most cases, you have people who are totally unfamiliar with communities coming and operating communities, and it causes all kind of problems. And anytime you have a community where you have places where there's a lot of disorder, chaos, and confusion, people who are susceptible will fall in line with that. You know what I mean? A person might have came in thinking that they're gonna do some good, and they start saying, hey, well, another officer robbing drug dealers and taking the money, and they get into a financial situation, they might start doing it too. All kind of stuff will happen, and that's why it's very important, especially for us in the black community, to get our communities in order and not tolerate the bullshit that we've been tolerating for a long time. Ain't no thugs and strange people out there in the community. Those your children, those your schoolmates, your friends. And if we don't care about our community, nobody else will, and people will continue to exploit us because we're exploitable. And that's just that's the law of the jungle. If something can be eaten, that shit gonna be snacked on. That's just reality. Take it how you want to take it. But I say that to say that's a lot. Oftentimes the reality with law enforcement. If you encounter law enforcement, that they make a stop for you, and for whatever reason, be cordial. Be polite. Don't try to argue your case in the street. My man Fred was talking about that the other day. All the officer can do is give you a ticket for the most part, and arrest you if if it's an arrestable offense. But most time you stopped on a traffic violation, moving violation. Be polite, and that's something I think a lot of us don't understand. And then y'all might disagree. You might want to stick your egos out and your chest out, but never talk shit to power. I don't understand how people don't understand it. Anybody been in the streets or been in combat anywhere, I don't care how tough you are or how big you are, at some point you're gonna have to bite your tongue and shut your mouth, because you're gonna find yourself in the situation. Everybody does. You find yourself in a situation in life where, it don't matter who the fuck you think you are, in that particular moment, you gotta bow down because, somebody or some group or the situation has placed you in a less superior, placed you in an inferior condition, and you just keep your mouth shut till you get out of that situation and you survive. Now, if you start talking shit to power, or you let people bait you into a conversation, and that's only gonna go downhill, then you open yourself up to things happening to you. A lot of people talk about rights. Well, I got a right. It's 2015. We shouldn't have to do that. Rights don't mean shit. Rights are relative. You can cite it, you know what I mean, but I tell you one thing: rights are only real if you can enforce them. If you can't enforce your right, it's not a right. If you don't have the power, if a man is standing in front of you and he got a gun and he's telling you it's gonna be this, and you telling him it's gonna be that, and you don't have the means to enforce what you're saying, then you're talking shit to power, and you're probably gonna have a bad day. And it's not worth it. You know what I mean? Sometimes, your people got an ego. If a cop, a corrupt cop or somebody got an ego, let them do their thing. Let them talk their shit. Give them your driver license ID and move on. Now, at the same time, don't assume every cop that stops you is gonna be nasty with you, because then that'll put you'll take a predisposition when you already hostile. Then those energies will bounce off each other. And if they got more power than you, and they do because they state sanctioned, then it'll be, it can go south. So all I'm saying, be cordial. When a cop stops you, make sure you keep your doors locked. I don't trust the police. I ain't saying all of them bad, but I don't trust the police. So I keep my doors locked. If I gotta give something to an officer, I'm gonna reach through and give him my ID through here. You know what I mean? And if an officer tells me to get out the car, now there's no legitimate reason to get out the car, I try to be polite and say, officer, I don't want, there's no reason for me to get out of my car. I'm not gonna do it. Until now, I get out the car when other officers arrive. You know what I mean? If other officers, not to say they're gonna be good, but a lot of times if you stay cordial, and here's the key: having 911 on the phone is very important. In case y'all don't know, it's against the law to interrupt the 911 phone call. I think it might even be federal law. I'm not sure. Somebody could probably correct me on that. But I know it's against the law to interrupt an emergency call. If an officer pulls up to you, acting unprofessional, using profanity, making threats, then you let them know, hey, I'm on the phone with 911 and I'm asking them to get a desk sergeant out here, somebody, because you are acting in a manner that makes me feel unsafe and threatening, and is unjustified. I bet you their demeanor and their conversation change when you're on the phone, when they find out you're on the phone with 911, because they know that's being recorded. And they know it's going to be a problem that's going to look bad for them if they try to force you to hang up the phone. Now, don't call your mama, your cousin, Ray, or your partner in them. Don't call relatives, because even if something happened and you're on the phone with your relative, people automatically going to believe that your relatives are going to be biased in your favor, so that their words won't count. You want to call 911, and you have the right to do that. Anytime you feel threatened, whether it's a dog about to attack you, your husband, your family member, whoever, then if you feel afraid for your well-being, then you can call emergency service. Don't call them for bullshit, because your weed man, they give you your weed, cheated you on your weed, like some people do. That's stupid. But if you sincerely feel threatened or afraid, then call 911. Keep your doors locked. Keep your windows rolled up. Don't get out the car. Don't stop on dark roads. And don't pull up. Don't think that if you pull up in a public place, when you're dealing with non-law enforcement, when you're dealing with civilians, don't think because you pull into a public place that you're going to be safe. If someone is following you, like a kidnapper or a potential rapist or whatever, a regular person is following you and trying to accost you, get on the phone once again with 911. Try to give them a description of the person, a description of the vehicle. If they're speeding and running up alongside you, hit your brakes and try to let them get in front of you so you can get that tag, at least some digits off their tag, so you can relay that information to the 911 operator. And ask them where the local police department is and drive to that location. Stay on the phone with 911 until you get somewhere safe, or until they can get an officer to catch up with y'all on the scene. So, and in saying that, y'all, that's another thing. Something you hear police say this sometimes. People always hate the police till they need us, and a lot of times that's true. And a lot of people are soldiers where they don't. I feel like I can handle my own if I get into a situation. I don't see if the police gonna be called, it's gonna be after the fact, because the situation need to be somebody might need to get picked up, and we need to make sure everything get documented what happened. But anyway, that's kind of the thing dealing with law enforcement, y'all. If a police get behind me, police come behind me all the time. Not all the time, like I feel like they're being profiled, but a police officer behind me today. I didn't feel anxiety. I didn't feel like I need to drive slower or speed up or none of that shit, because I don't live in fear, and I advise y'all to do the same. Don't live in fear of the police. Don't look at all police as being hostile to you. I know some of y'all gonna regret that. Y'all gonna reject that and say, "Oh, fuck the police," and you just don't know up here they kick our ass, they do us like this. If you live in an area where a situation has been created where the police randomly and freely kick y'all ass on a regular basis and you have no recourse, you'll be a fool to continue to stay there. And that can only happen if you don't have communities. They don't do it in the Jewish communities. They don't do it in a whole bunch of other organized communities, because those people have order. And because of conditions, they can't get away with it. And that's another bad thing about allowing your neighborhoods to be deemed high crime areas and all the rest of that shit, because then people, the general public, start to see y'all as, well, whatever go over there is par on course with, is the natural order of things. You don't never want to live in a chaotic environment, because it gives people the opportunity to exploit you. If the police, if imagine one day, if you live in these so-called rough areas, imagine if there was one day where there were no calls to police. Imagine if there was a week with no calls to the police. Imagine a month with no calls to the police. Nobody robbing anybody, nobody shooting anybody, nobody assaulting anybody. Then it will be you want to affect the police. You want to counter. Oh, look at that possum down there, y'all. I don't know if y'all can see him. He just came out to look correct. But a big one too. I say little, it's a big one. But there he is. There you go. That must have been what that cat was looking for, but he about the size of that cat. Yeah, sorry about that. But the thing is, y'all, you gotta have order. You gotta, we have to change for things to change for us. And if you create a peaceful environment, you got a problem where you live in a neighborhood and it's full of corrupt cops, put them out of work. Put them out of work by not having calls. If they don't have no calls, then the city might say, well, we don't need that many officers anymore because we're not getting that many calls. 911 phones. I mean, you want to get back at them. You know what I mean? Put them out of work by not generating calls. If you want to get back at the system, and I ain't saying all of us, this don't apply to all of us, but stop selling dope, stop doing what people expect you to do. You know what I mean? That's how we beat them. Stop, give them their shit back. The system want to, push drugs in your community, push the drugs right back out of your community. Don't give them nothing. If y'all really, when people truly want to revolt, when people truly want to fight, it ain't about fighting power. It's dumb to run up on a power with. It's dumb to run up on something stronger than you. You got to figure out a different way. If you gonna fight Mike Tyson, you don't fight Mike Tyson in the ring. You got to fight Mike Tyson another way. You can't fight him according to his strength, and you can't fight the police because they're strong and they're backed by the state. And the state gonna always look out for the state, even when the state is wrong. That's what people do when they have organizations. Organizations look out for their members, right or wrong, as best as they can. They can't always protect them 100% of the time, but for the most part, the police are gonna try to cover for other officers. That's just the game. People cover for one another. We the only people that don't do that. If with us, it's each one is on his own. So when things happen, they happen because we're nothing but a community of individuals. So that's the reality. We're a community of emotional individuals. A lot of people ain't gonna like this. They're gonna find something they don't like about what I said and call me names and all that. But that's because you're irrational. That's the same reason you're powerless. Because the whole thing always goes back to, well, I don't like what he said. I'd rather fight with him than fight with the system. And you don't fight with the system by taking up arms, because the system will crush your ass going and coming with arms. You have to fight the system by countering the objectives that the system have for you, if those objectives be negative. If they don't want you to eat, then you got to find a way to eat. If they want to exploit your community so that y'all can become labor resources in prison, you got to find a way to stay out of prison. If they want to disrupt your community by not providing economic employment, then you got to find a way to educate yourself and generate your own employment. You got to find a way. You got to share resources, do something. But the main thing is you got to learn to be peaceable with one another. Because if people don't, if a man will fight his brother or betray his brother, I damn sure ain't gonna trust him. You know what I mean? I can only imagine what he'll do to me. If a man don't, take care of his children, a man or a woman, if they'll neglect their children, I know they'll neglect me. So I'm not gonna respect people who neglect their children. I'm not gonna respect people who neglect their communities. I'm not gonna respect people who neglect their well-being. You can't ask people to do that. So it's a lot more to it, y'all. And the people who's supposed to hear this will hear it. Alien Black.